man, once that entire murder starts cawing and crowing and shit, there's hundreds of them. It is deafeningly loud.
So something I want to talk when we're talking about the rates of people being fired, right?
Yes.
A big...
I have numbers, by the way, for the state employees.
Yes, the state employees. That's another one. So let's hear that.
Okay, so we have, to date, 1,887 state employees have been terminated out of the totality of around 63,000.
And is that those have been terminated?
Already.
Right? Okay.
Yes, at this point in time. There are still 2,887 that are quote-unquote pending action, which, as it turns out, means that their exemptions are still being considered. They may or may not have said they're going to get the shot and have yet to carry through with that. And then we have 1,927 employees that have currently received accommodations of some kind, so religious or medical exemptions.
So
we actually have more of those than that have been currently terminated, but we still have another almost 3,000 that are pending. So we will find out.
So let's talk about that for a second, right? Because one of the things we've been seeing a lot in the state is police officers and firefighters who are having their exemptions not accepted but not accommodated.
Yeah.
And it's because they are interacting with the public,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we have a couple of different people that were fired also, like...
Thoughts about the American dream.
The head coach
that's it right there.
from Wazoo was also fired because he refused to get vaccinated. His is like a religious...
I think his wasn't...
Right? And so which is also... We have to talk about that because that's a very interesting...
Is very.
Part of it, right? And so Jay Inslee has been very clear that even if you are granted an exemption, we are not required to accommodate you. Mm-hmm. And they're obviously taking advantage of that, especially in regards to police officers and firefighters.
Yeah.
They're being denied their exemptions. There is a gray area there for exemptions, right? Mm-hmm. Especially religious ones, where you don't really have any large religious groups that have come out and said that they aren't accepting of the vaccine. And this is where it starts to get a little bit gray for me, but also very important, right? And this is why the reporting, some of the most recent reporting from Project Veritas is so important, right? Because the reporting they did on Pfizer that claims to show that there was testing and possibly fetal DNA involved in the production of the vaccine, that is kind of the key that's missing for people to be getting a religious exemption, right? If there is fetal DNA involved in the production of this vaccine somehow that is being hidden, you then have the open door to a religious exemption, because right now it doesn't really exist. Like I said, the Pope has come out and said that he's fine with the vaccine. So you don't really... I agree with them. I don't think you should be being mandated to get it. But as far as the technicalities of religious exemptions go, you don't really have large religions that have come out and said, we don't agree with this, therefore it's against our religion. So there aren't many people who have a valid, quote-unquote, in terms of governmental view, religious exemption claim for this vaccine.
Yeah.
And that's why I think those pieces from Project Veritas are so important.
Yes.
Because if that's true, you are not only trying to subvert people's religious choices by putting this vaccine out and not talking about it, right? Not talking about the way that it was produced, but also by not allowing people to properly and fully try and claim their religious exemptions. You know, so I would imagine most of the exemptions now are medical exemptions. If there's a medical reason, your doctor has told you probably shouldn't get the vaccine because of X, Y, and Z. The one guy that we were on the fishing with, Jim, his doctor told him not to get it.
Yep.
I don't remember what he had. Whatever was in his past, they said there's no studies yet on what your syndrome, disease, whatever is going to do to counteract with this vaccine. Don't get it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd imagine that's what most of those exemptions are. And because most state workers don't work actively with the public, especially right now. Right now, state workers are at all, Zoom and virtual meetings and shit like that. So
to this day,
even if you work in an office, you're not really seeing people unless you have to.
Yeah, they're still pajama warriors.
Yes.
Now,
Thoughts?
The religious exemption, or the lack thereof, is really concerning to me.
Yes.
Because at a certain point, the state is telling you, no matter what you're claiming, we do not validate your religious beliefs. And I mean, I'm going to probably go back to this a lot today, but my rights are not up for debate.
Right.
They are what they are, and they are absolute, and you can go fuck yourself. Right. Thank you very much, county, city, state, federal government.
Yeah.
They're not up for debate. For you to even think you have the ability to question my religious beliefs when I tell you what they are, You do not have the right or even the ability to tell me I'm wrong, because you don't know what my religious beliefs are. You don't know what they are just because they're not some bona fide 501c3 religion or tax exempt status or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. That's not how this works at all. And I understand the debate about, people faking it or whatever it is. Well, I'm just going to put in for a religious exemption because they can't,
We
come
know
against
people
my.
who have said that. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's not up for debate.
Right.
Period. Full stop. And they are wrong to the fact that there's an exemption that they get to consider the accommodation of is bullshit. That is not right. That's not how any of this is supposed to work. And the longer people accept that, because they're too married to their fucking job and their security in this job that they have, and they're going to lose everything. But grow a pair and stand up for your own fucking rights, because this is not okay. That's where I land on it, anyways.
Yeah. No, and I think that you're right. It's
The religious exemption is BS. I'm not going to argue it's not for
Right.
a lot of people.
Right, and I agree. But it's a dangerous game to be playing.
Welcome to the south of the streets, coming at you